Hey everybody, and welcome to a deep dive,
Mhm.
into a story that's as old as time, the Book of Ruth. We're going to be exploring, how this ancient tale of loyalty and resilience, still has meaning in our modern world. So get ready for some twists and turns, because this journey is anything but predictable.
Well, you know what I find so captivating about the Book of Ruth is that it really, takes place against a backdrop of hardship.
Yeah.
We're talking famine, death, displacement, pretty heavy stuff. And yet, it's ultimately a story of hope, connection, and the surprising ways we find strength in the face of adversity.
Okay, so let's set the scene. We begin with the famine in the land of Judah. Imagine that desperation, having to leave everything you know behind just to seek survival elsewhere. That's exactly what a man named Elimelech, his wife Naomi, and their two sons are forced to do. They journey to Moab, hoping to escape the famine's grip.
It's a decision that many can relate to even today. That feeling of having to start over, to face the unknown. And just when you think things can't get any worse for Naomi, tragedy strikes. Her husband Elimelech dies, leaving her a widow in a foreign land.
Oh man, what a curveball. And it doesn't stop there. Her sons marry Moabite women, Orpah and Ruth, but then they too pass away. Can you imagine the weight of grief and loneliness Naomi must have carried?
It's just heartbreaking. And, to fully grasp the impact, we need to consider the cultural context. Back then, a widow without children, especially sons, was incredibly vulnerable. They relied on their male family members for protection and support. So Naomi is not only grieving, but facing a very uncertain future.
So what does she do? She decides to return to her hometown of Bethlehem. Now that the famine has ended, it's a glimmer of hope, a return to familiar ground. But here's where it gets really interesting. She urges her daughters-in-law Orpah and Ruth to stay in Moab.
She's basically telling them, go rebuild your lives, find new husbands, don't let my fate become yours. You know it's a selfless act. Considering her own pain, she's prioritizing their well-being. And, remarriage was essential for security back then,
Hmm.
especially for widows.
Right. And this is where we come to a pivotal moment in the story. Orpah, understandably heartbroken, eventually agrees to stay. But Ruth makes a radical choice. She refuses to leave Naomi's side. She utters those famous words, "Whither thou goest, I will go, and where thou lodgest, I will lodge. Thy people shall be my people, and thy God my God."
Whoa, talk about commitment. This isn't just a pledge of loyalty, it's a complete upheaval of her life. She's leaving her homeland, her culture, her religion, everything. To embrace a new life with Naomi, this speaks volumes about the depth of their bond, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. It's a testament to the power of human connection. The way love can transcend cultural and religious boundaries gives me chills just thinking about it. But their journey is far from over. They arrive in Bethlehem during the barley harvest. But Naomi is still grappling with immense bitterness. She asks to be called Mara, meaning bitter, because she feels like God has dealt her a terrible hand.
It's a raw human response to suffering. We've all been there, haven't we? Questioning our faith, wondering why bad things happen. But there's a fascinating contrast here between Naomi's bitterness and Ruth's unwavering devotion. It's like they're two sides of the same coin, both dealing with hardship in very different ways.
Yeah, it's like Naomi's faith is being tested, pushed to its limits, but even in her bitterness, there's a glimmer of hope. She chooses to return to Bethlehem, to her community, to her God. It suggests that deep down, she hasn't completely lost trust.
That resilience is amazing, even when life knocks you down. There's that spark inside that keeps you going. But let's shift gears a bit. We've talked about the emotional roller coaster of this story, but what about the timeless wisdom it offers? What can we learn from Ruth and Naomi's experiences?
Well, that's where it gets really interesting. And I think
Right.
things that Ruth's loyalty. I mean, it goes beyond just helping someone out. It's a complete dedication to another person's well-being, even when it means sacrificing your own comfort and security. It makes you wonder, how often do we see that kind of radical loyalty in our own lives? It's a powerful question. It's easy to be there for someone when things are good, but what about when the going gets tough? Ruth's commitment to Naomi through thick and thin is truly inspiring. It speaks to the depth of human connection we're all capable of.
All right, and then there's Naomi's journey of faith. It's not always pretty, is it? There's doubt, anger, questioning, all those raw emotions that come with facing hardship. But the fact that she returns to Bethlehem suggests a deep-seated belief, a trust that even in the darkest moments, there's something bigger at play.
I think that resonates with so many people today. Faith isn't always about blind acceptance or easy answers. It's about holding on to hope, even when you're wrestling with doubt and pain. It's about that inner strength that helps you get through the tough times.
Exactly, and let's not forget the sheer courage Ruth displays. I mean, imagine leaving everything you know behind, your home, your family, your entire way of life, to step into the unknown that takes guts. It's a reminder that sometimes growth and transformation require us to step outside our comfort zones.
It makes you think about the times in our own lives when we've had to face big changes, make difficult choices, whether it's moving to a new city, starting a new job, or ending a relationship. Those leaps of faith can be scary, but they can also lead to incredible growth and new beginnings.
And speaking of new beginnings, the Book of Ruth also highlights the importance of community. Naomi, upon returning to Bethlehem, seeks the support of her people. It's a reminder that we're not meant to go through life's challenges alone. We need those support systems, family, friends, communities, to help us through the tough times.
It's like that African proverb, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. There's strength in numbers, and it's beautiful to see how Naomi finds solace and support in her community.
Absolutely. So we've got these powerful themes: loyalty, faith, courage, community. But how do these ancient lessons translate to our modern lives? It's one thing to admire Ruth and Naomi's journeys, but how can we apply their wisdom to our own experiences?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? We live in a world that's vastly different from ancient Bethlehem. But I think the beauty of stories like this is that they speak to universal human experiences.
Mm.
Love, loss, resilience, faith. These are themes that transcend time and place. Right? So it's not about literally like replicating, Ruth and Naomi's actions, but about extracting the core principles and applying them to our own situations.
Mhm.
For example, think about the depth of commitment we see in Ruth's loyalty to Naomi. That same principle can apply to our own relationships with
Mhm.
family, friends, romantic partners. It's about being there for the people we care about,
Mhm.
especially when they need us most.
Right. It's about being that unwavering source of support, that listening ear, that shoulder to cry on. It's about choosing love and loyalty even when it's hard, even when there's no reward in sight. It's about showing up, not just with words, but with actions.
And think about the resilience both Ruth and Naomi embody. I mean, they go through so much loss and hardship, but they find a way to keep going, to adapt and rebuild their lives. I think that resonates so deeply with the challenges we face in our modern world.
Absolutely. Whether you're dealing with a career setback, relationship issues, health challenges, or the loss of a loved one, we all need that inner strength to pick ourselves up and keep moving forward. And sometimes, like Naomi, we need to lean on our communities for support.
That's where the idea of community comes in. Just as Naomi found comfort and assistance in Bethlehem, we too can draw strength from the people around us. It's about nurturing those meaningful connections, building those support systems that can help us navigate life's inevitable storms. You know,
Yeah, it's about recognizing that we're not meant to go through it alone, whether it's family, friends, a faith community, or even online support groups. Having people to lean on can make all the difference in the world. And let's not forget the courage it takes to embrace change. Just as Ruth stepped outside her comfort zone to follow Naomi, we too are often called upon to make bold choices to venture into the unknown.
it's scary, right? Leaving behind the familiar,
Yeah.
the comfortable. But sometimes those leaps of faith lead to incredible growth and unexpected blessings. Ruth's story reminds us that stepping into the unknown can open up a whole new world of possibilities.
It's like that quote, life begins at the end of your comfort zone. And as we wrap up our deep dive into the Book of Ruth, I want to encourage you to consider, who are the Naomi figures in your life, the ones who deserve that unwavering support? What does radical loyalty look like in your own relationships? And what steps can you take today to cultivate greater resilience and connection in your own life?
The Book of Ruth offers a timeless blueprint for navigating life's challenges, reminding us that even in the face of hardship, there's always hope, always the possibility for transformation, and always the power of human connection to guide us through. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. And until next time, keep seeking, keep exploring, and keep connecting.